Welcome to Ascension with V, where we talk about spiritual awakening, ascension, and everything in between. I'm your host, Stashia Jeanette, aka V, and today we have a special guest who's about to take us on a journey with their unique experiences, gifts, and abilities. Jonathan, take it away.
Okay. Hi. Yeah. So I know in the little preview we just had, we were talking a little bit about, I guess, the embodiment of ascension, and
Yeah.
that is what a lot of this involves and energy. Uh, so yeah. So I guess let's get right into it. The first
We're
thing
gonna do
where
it.
me and V kind of started like, hey, you're a grid worker.
Yeah.
I'm a grid worker. And so, yeah. So let's get into that. So can
Yes.
I ask you a question? I know it's your show.
Yeah, go ahead.
But so, what is your version of grid worker?
So grid working for me looks like being called to. I think people from the outside probably look at it as like, oh, you're just going on a vacation. Like, no, but it's being called to, like, at a deep soul level, being or shown. A lot of times I'll be shown in a dream a place that I'm supposed to go, and I'll go there, and it's me activating the crystalline grid and ley line points at certain countries, certain specific landmarks across the globe. And for me, it's just I need to physically have my feet on whatever the soil is in the area that I've been called to activate, like I said, the crystalline grid or ley line points from like ancient times.
How do you get these? How do you get your so you said in a dream, and I will say for me, I haven't been able to dream. And I know it's funny because I studied Dan Winter and lucid dreaming. We can get into that later. I don't want to get too
Yeah,
far off, but there is an energetic value there,
right.
and we're learning more about that. But I actually haven't been able to dream for a long time now. It's like a light
Really?
switch. Yeah, there's no representation of time to me at a conscious level. Like it's like literally like I just laid down and I just flip back up.
That's
And
it?
that's it. There's no representation of space or time between.
I mean, like, I get the time blindness thing frequently, but like
Mm-mm.
that's insane to me. So when is the last time that you can say that you have recalled a dream, like, ever? Like,
It's
just
been
just
it's
roughly.
it's been probably 5 to 7 years in that time frame. I mean,
Can
it's
you
been at
remember
least
it?
no.
Well,
Uh-uh. Yeah. No. So I've had still images, like I've had maybe four in
okay.
that time frame, but it's just like a Photoshop and that's it. Yep, that's all I see. So, but I've never had any other recollection of whatever I'm experiencing than
That's
stored.
insane.
Well, from what I understood is that it's actually because I don't want to, if you do a lot of creative and like purposeful things during your waking hours,
Right.
it's like you've compartmentalized all you can.
Right.
And I will say, like, I wake up very rejuvenated, very
Yeah.
fresh. It's pretty rare where I don't sleep well.
Right.
So yeah, but I haven't had a dream like that in a long time, and I can't tell you the last ones I had, and I don't even remember a lot of them I had as a child. I mean, I remember some, which now I'm actually like, it's funny because I just had a deja vu about a week and a half ago that I've had my whole life that
hmm
haven't realized, like connected the dots until now.
Right.
So, and this is a part of ascension, I think too,
Yeah.
is you start waking up to realizing that there's all these little nexus points
Yes.
that your soul might have had and you kind of are
Yeah.
attaching the web.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, that's what a lot of that's been for me lately is,
That's insane. For me, when I'm dreaming, mine is like astral projecting or astral traveling. Like it's a dream, but it's not like I remember everything. It's like constantly lucid dreaming, except it's just God source universe giving me like a essentially like handing me a dossier envelope and
uh,
saying, okay, this is where you're meant to be and go, and that's where I
uh,
go. And usually in these places, this is how I've been able to see where I'm supposed to be going for a specific mission,
do
right?
you do anything while you're there on the ley line? Do you do anything specifically like a practice?
Mm-mm.
just feet on the ground.
Yeah.
I do know that it does build energy, especially this is how I also like to explain it too, is that it's been shown to me that, like, think of it this way, in our very dense construct right now, look at the polarity, the opposite in that intention setting. So like, if you look at like pagan worship or like blood sacrifices, or I like to use this as an example. If anybody knows about the story of the red heifers going over to Israel, where they're going to be slaughtered, the ranchers, and here in America, in Texas, he raised them with that intention. So
Right.
think of it that way. Like, if there's like a lot of layers of stacked intention, it just kind of builds that energetic value. They just do it in a negative construct, right?
Right.
So for us, we have a way of doing it in a positive construct.
Right.
That's very much up to the individual, or if you're in a group setting, the groups of people, yeah, right. And so what I've understood is that does actually like increase your, so let's get into plasma then, I guess. So grid
Let's
work.
do it.
Yeah, into
Yeah.
plasma. So
First of all, explain this and what this is that you do and work with, and its role here.
Okay, so I just did my first big project for myself. It was a lot of hours of meditation and kind of script writing and some images, and I packed a lot of information into it. But it's really relevant to what's kind of coming at us now. And a part of the ascension process is this. There is no hierarchy system really involved. It's an omnipresence. So I like to kind of start this as the groundwork. This doesn't make anybody more special or better than the other. Because when people start waking up to what their more purposeful call is, like, there's probably a reason when you feel this way energetically, it gives you it creates such a balance inside yourself. You cannot not do it, right? That's why you probably felt the calling to do it for such a long time.
Right.
And so there's something there. And I would say lean into that more, as much as you can. So with this omnipresence, there are certain people in the beginning that are going to be able to take on what they call like plasma. And we're finding out that however you want to talk about plasma, it's either the fourth or fifth element, right? More of a spiritual context, it's the fifth element, because you have all the four elements. And then plasma is more of it's the ether, it's the unified field. We as humans like to compartmentalize all these different labels, but they can all kind of mean the same thing.
Right.
So it's like, it's one of those things. It's plasma. So at a physical scale, you're starting to see all the physics behind plasma coming. So now that's when you're calling it the fourth element, because it's not solid, it's not a liquid, it's not gas, it's a superheated gas. Right. So it's literally where, at that form, where the electrons are so heated in that gas state that they separate into a cloud. So now you have a cloud of charge. You don't just have one atom specifically that's grouped with others that's providing a charge, to break that down in a hopefully a more easier way for people to understand.
Yeah.
So then if you take that concept and what they're understanding through, again, like this, think of it like this too. We couldn't test for this stuff in the 1600s, but now we have the ability to take equipment and actually show this stuff.
Yes.
Right. So that is a very important part of this process. So, the 9. So what does the 9 usually mean in a lot of spiritual and historical context? A lot of religions go back to the 9s. If people dive into that a little more, they'll find it.
Right.
The 9 is actually a representation to me of a symbol of, they've shown when they put 9 plasma torids together, they create a plasma cloud. That's a plasma being, which creates intelligence. So it's where an actual like physicality, think of it like a wave to particle kind of structure, a resonance to physical matter,
right,
at a conscious intelligence level.
Okay.
So now you have enough of the right components aligned in the right way that they make a plasma being. We've just always thought that we're extended to our skin. In the physical.
And that's not it. No.
Right.
We are light beings.
Right. Yeah. So what is that to you? I
of light
mean,
being.
yeah,
So for me, it's like we're just wearing this. I'm trying to put it in like kind of like you said, like common
just
understandable.
label it the way you understand it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like this whole skin thing is just like a costume. You know what I mean? Like we're spiritual beings just like wearing this human skin suit, but we're just full of energy and light. There's the ascension process happens, and the end goal is to get back to being fully in your light body.
Mm,
They call it like your Merkaba, or your divine vessel. And but there's this weird thing happening now where a lot of us are stepping into being the divine being, but still in the physical body, because we're bringing down things that from the spirit world that has not existed before in the
mm,
physical. And obviously you have to have still a physical vessel to do these things, but you're this full divine light being
mm-hmm,
in the physical.
mm-hmm.
It's really interesting. It's like a really interesting concept.
Yeah. So that's a great representation of it. And if you just want to attach a physical structure to it, because I get people like to I've understood that we're
Yes.
so visual. We want
Yes.
to visualize it. Okay.
Yeah.
So don't stop at your skin,
Right.
but you have a cloud of charge
Around
around
you.
you, and you
Exactly.
can actually increase that by
Yes.
what you do in spiritual and physical practices combined.
Yes.
Because here's where I will say, like, I reference day and winter and people who start getting into like, phase conjugation and like quantum structure. And they're starting to, this is where I tie a lot of my spiritual understanding, which, from my soul purpose and understanding that at a deeper level, I understand there's a lot of like, that's a part of my soul purpose is
Yes.
to like present a lot of sacred knowledge. So
Exactly.
like
Yes.
with phase conjugation and these physical things, people like to see like
Oh.
how does it work? How does
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
engineering work,
Yeah.
right?
If humans are not good at the whole walk by faith and not by sight thing, because if they can't see, it- it's bad. Like it's bad. We have like
Yeah,
having to have a
yeah.
yes.
But you're right. And like so back to me and your energy exchange in the beginning, and you're kind of like, we were explaining to everybody like, I didn't know. Like, so
Yes.
this is where this comes into play from
Yeah.
a physical thing. Is as people who have embodied themselves a certain way,
Right.
physically and spiritually both, because
Hmm.
there is a physical world, there's a spiritual world, and we're
Yes.
just trying to bridge the two.
Exactly.
So think of it like this, Vesica Pisces. So when we're going to do a lot of things in the future, a lot of it's going to be through sound harmonics and resonance, just like the ancients did. And a lot of what we're really doing, we're just relearning this. This isn't stuff that it's just a lock and key. Like we know the
Right.
knowledge is there. We're
Right.
just opening it back up again. And then it sends a flood for everybody else to be like, oh, this is my purposeful thing to do, right?
Right.
So that's what's cool about it. And then the expansion will be pretty vast, but mine and yours resonance is higher. And this is not a hierarchy. This is a purely divine and a divine orchestration. And the reason that it's beautiful at its core is this. So that Vesica Pisces, if you look at it, is when two frequencies become so aligned, that last like part that they're coming together, it's like this. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
then boom, and then it's just like the same. It's just aligned completely.
Yes.
And that's what you're seeing people
That's what
who
I
are
was.
more aligned, and they're just like, boom,
Yeah.
now we're connecting
Correct.
more.
Yeah.
And then that will have a further expansion, because then small
It
groups of
ripples
people who
out.
are doing right in the quantum, it's a ripple.
Correct.
Always right.
Yeah, it's like a huge thing, and I wish I was recording while you were like buzzing around before, because like the moment that you came like slightly came into the camera, my power went out,
Mhm.
and then it like came back on, but like, and I was like, "It's what this is. It's a lot of power happening here. That's what it is."
So
Yeah.
yeah, so okay, so I will be honest, and I'm always I hate to preface that because I'm always honest. There's only certain things I share because that's
Correct.
okay too. We need to learn that.
Right.
You have to protect your energy too, because I've been
Yes.
around people where they're so low vibration, and
Energy vampire.
it's just really what they're doing is their stuff is low vibration, that there's such a distortion between me. It
Yes.
almost causes me physical pain.
It
It's
does.
weird.
Yeah, no, for real. No, for real. Like you get physically ill. You're like, I got to go. Like,
Right.
I got to go. I can't.
Yeah, I mean, you're irritated. You can't,
Yes.
and again, I don't want to call upon judgments of people, but here's where I'd like to tell people, like, this is what the divine orchestration involved in this, because
Right.
as this ascension process takes place and more people embody this and more people are starting to get into their Christos, into
Hmm.
that, that left brain, right brain
Divine feminine,
balance,
divine masculine.
divine feminine, divine masculine, intuition, action with
Yes.
compassion, but also having boundaries for your energy
That.
because, right, because if it's out of alignment, it's okay to step away from that. And people have
Right.
to be okay with that. I was told the other day I had to sit at a dinner table and talk to these people who were talking about things with manipulating Gaia and like Lamborghinis. And I was
Oh
like, just
no.
sitting here, like, I
No. No.
couldn't take it, and I just was like,
Mm,
but I was told later on I should have sat there and mastered my throat chakra and skill, and I'm like, no, if I would have
no.
had my vehicle, I didn't have my vehicle. I'd always have my vehicle usually.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
I had my
I'd have
vehicle in that
left.
situation, I just been like, hey, sorry, but I think
Got to go.
I gotta go. I got something I gotta take care of, and then
Got to go.
bye. Right. It's not a hierarchy to be disrespectful. It's just that is the hard part of this ascension is you're going to lose some people because why? Because
Facts.
they're too distorted for
Yeah.
your oscillation. That is purely
Right.
what your plasma is. When you're increasing these spiritual and physical things that you embody, you're
Right.
literally increasing that charge. And I'm going to be completely honest with people. Like, I got on a show the other day with Elena Denon, and I started blasting some people with some gnosis a little bit that I knew it would probably resonate with some, and others were freaked out, and
Right.
it shut off her camera.
Yeah.
But it's not me. It necessarily
Right.
it is a
Exactly.
little bit because it's my charge, but remember
Yeah.
this, it's the shared venture and the information that we start sharing
Right.
collectively and
Right.
these devices at those moments, because
Can't handle it.
they can't. The
No.
Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth, Dan Winter
Yes.
talks about this. They're completely out of
Out of.
a different frequency element. They
Yes.
can't sustain in that environment, just shuts them off.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. I experience that frequently. There was twice that I was trying to do this, and it was not with you, but like in the past, there was some episodes that I was trying to do, and it was like the same thing. Like some of the microphone on someone else's thing wasn't working, and I was just we eventually just came to it like it's just we're just apparently just not the technology just can't handle it.
mm-mm, no. So okay, so back to plasma a little bit to flow
Yes.
into that.
Yes.
Those are some of the things that we're going to learn to change,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not about just you
Mm-hmm.
with this plasma and this energy.
Right.
It will actually, it's so from my understanding is that there's a range and scales of energetic values across the cosmos, and they can actually even take some of these different forms of energy and intertwine them with other energy to get another energy type of form out of it that does more specific tasks.
So
So
like constantly evolving and changing energies.
depending on what resonance they need to do to what they need to do with it, because then you even start playing with sacred geometry and crystals that
Exactly.
can actually store this like data, just like a computer
Right.
or like
Right.
a battery cell that can
Right.
store energy. And all this gnosis is just going to start to like flood in. And it's
Right.
really, that's why I was saying that it doesn't really matter in this process. And, I will say this, like people have kind of in my inner circles that I've kind of say I've been getting a little bit out of resonance with that I normally wouldn't, is because when you start that oscillation rate even keeps ticking higher,
Exactly.
it's not a hierarchy. It's just like this stuff works.
Just
And I'm not giving you any information that you don't know already
Correct.
exists, right?
Right.
I
Correct.
mean,
Right.
go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it just is. I mean, that's the thing. I speak on it frequently, being the, I call it myself the Ascension Oracle. Like it's a part of it, and nobody wants to acknowledge the first thing that comes out of people's mouth is like, "Oh, you think you're better than us now?" No, it's not. That's not it. That's not it. I just have done the work within myself to get to this point. I'm
Hmm.
healing. I'm doing the inner work. I'm
Right.
clearing my chakras. I'm staying balanced. I'm getting to know my dark side, my light side. I'm combining the two. I'm embracing my divine feminine. I'm embracing my divine masculine. Like it's harmony over
Mm,
here.
mm,
But to other people, especially, they start dropping off like flies if they too are not trying to ascend and do the work within themselves.
mhm.
It's just energetic dissonance.
Right. That should be preached on Sunday mornings.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
That was beautiful.
yeah, it's a thanks, Jonathan,
It's just nice to be in a space with people who talk that way.
who understand.
Right.
Same.
But we're gonna, the thing I've understood about it too is energy in our world and the way our souls incarnate at this time
Mhm.
is that usually when you meet people at a pretty like deep level right now, like most of those souls had to usually go through, they had to they had to do
A
a lot of
lot.
healing.
A lot.
And the cool thing that I understand about this, sorry,
Don't apologize. It's a safe space.
mm,
It's all right. Feel the
nah,
feels.
is the energy value that you can expand in your own aura, your own plasma, your own being because of that. Because it's just like this, the hard trauma and the hard stuff that went in
Yeah.
as that you had to clear, when it's
Yeah.
cleared and it comes out,
Yeah.
the energetic value in that is massive.
Math.
So it's not to say again, like, well, I had a harder life than you and fix myself. It's like, no, I've went so fucking deep inside myself and I've been, quote unquote, like they say, the road to mastery
Yeah.
is a narrow one. It's narrow. It's
Yeah.
very narrow. And most of us have been living that life for a little while where,
Yeah.
like you said, you've already kind of like, it's not that I don't like you or hanging out with you. And I still decide when
Exactly.
a friend of mine who has been inviting me out for a while because I know they're going to be doing the same thing. And when I
Same.
go, they're doing the same
Same
thing. And I love you
thing.
guys, but
But like, my
that's
God. Yes.
that's why I can only do it so often, but
Yes.
that's my compassion because I
Right.
know that like just because I have this understanding now doesn't mean they won't in
Exactly.
or 2 years.
Exactly.
So, but like that is the cool thing. If you're waking up and understanding this now and like getting really deep into that, like there's going to be some really cool things happen to
Yeah.
humanity
Yeah.
because at a vast cosmological scale, this is again a further layer of understanding is that as this energy is brought in,
Mhm.
as this cyclical cosmological structure is brought back into our realm and we can embody it physically,
Right.
right? A lot of it is the gnosis because people are going to be purposeful and go with that gnosis. They're going to create action because they're balanced in their masculine and feminine.
Yes.
And they're going to be able to create these cool devices, these cool things that we don't have to even, I mean, really, like, we don't even need food hardly that much. And so when people are doing the fear porn about, like, I need to build a acreage and acreage of food, I was there at one point, so I am not judging.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Right.
I still have a very great connection with food, but
Right.
I fast a lot. And the human body does not need hardly anything. As you ascend, like
Same.
food has not been, but I've had a lot of good balanced energy. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not a bad thing either.
Did you go through the thing where you lost a lot of weight?
No, I never really got like, um, I've always been like pretty connected, I would say, with my food and medicine. Like I've been growing my own weed for a while now, and like I
Yeah.
used to have my own little organic grow shop, and we built our own soils and biochar
Nice.
inoculants. So I've always like had that. There was periods of my life where I gained some weight because, I was drinking with the boys and watching football and
Right. Right.
not doing my yoga, not
Right.
not working on myself to a fashion. But can I say one more thing, and then
Yeah. No, you go ahead.
I'd like to let you talk a little more. I feel like I've been talking a lot.
No, because this is your episode. It's not about me. This is about you. I'm here to listen with you. That's
Okay, I want to get to know you too, but a little more. But a lot of what we're learning too is like when you look at like Dan Winter and his work and stuff, is I put this little symbolism together the other day, I think. So it's a lot about these zodiac structures, and we are officially moving into the Age of Aquarius,
Age
where,
of Aquarius.
like you said, it's the man bringing in water. So what that symbolizes is like it's a balance of energies within yourself first, and then we do it in small groups, and then we do it in larger groups collectively. That is the tip of the ascension process, is
Right.
ourselves. So, but it symbolizes because, the man back then didn't bring the water. The woman always did. And
Yeah.
we've been led by an imbalanced masculine who's led by fear, depression.
Yeah.
And I will say there's a big part of duality in the age of Pisces that we're moving off of. In DNA structure, which I'm sure Dan Winter would support me on this, is that the age of the Pisces, like if you look at the braided helix, just the two strand,
The two strand.
which I'm pretty sure there's a lot more, right?
Oh no, there's definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's definitely.
If you cut it in half at one spot, it's the fish on both
Yes.
sides, and you can flip it that
Yes.
way. And that's the representation of duality to me as
Yeah.
a physical thing to ourselves, is that we can actually tap into these energetic values and increase your aura to where you're building your DNA from the inside out. So those different cymatic patterns they can actually show in DNA structures.
Right.
So again, we're in the densest octave that we've been at. So just think of, again, everything's really cool that we're going to start getting to learn and experience.
Yeah.
And so cell rejuvenation to a degree to where people live longer, like that's going to be a thing in the future. And it's there for us now. Like we can tap into it.
Yeah. Also this thing, speaking of like cell rejuvenation, there's this image that I've been getting because like I'm not able to have kids. But there's this thing that I've been getting where it's these beings have been helping us with essentially your the way that essentially babies are made, right? Like using just the DNA and not so much as having to have like eggs, but can reproduce from your your DNA. It's like a really interesting concept that I was thinking of, but I just keep hearing like this is the future. Like this is what's coming in the future, is how like, so if there's a situation where, women don't have their eggs or whatever, you can still have your own child just from your DNA and the sperm. Very interesting. But this is like you were speaking on the Age of Aquarius, thing. And I think this is also something that sometime in the near future, they're going to be like, oh, and also, but the world's super rich. Like they have this, they have access to this, these things, the things that like the normal people don't have access to right now. There's not a cure. There's not an ailment out there that doesn't have a cure for it. Like technology right now, the laptops that we're using, we're already behind, while a lot of the billionaires and whatnot are already very much in the future. They have the technology for a lot of things already on hand that's about to be revealed. And I think this coming year, 2025 and beyond, is going to be kind of like one of those really mind-blowing situations of where did this technology come from? But the way that we heal, the way that the health system is going to be changed forevermore is really mind-boggling to me.
Yeah. So like, are you talking about like future like med beds and just like kind of that type of stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I mean,
I heard a lady.
you
Oh
know.
yeah, go ahead.
No,
Yeah,
you know about it.
I heard a lady on Elena Denon ask about like something about like an artificial implant, like would they be able to go into a med bed? And I will say my intuitive thought is this is like this is where the holographic matrix still gets people is that you have to remember if you're asking it if you're not believing in the placebo. You are the placebo.
Right.
Like people have to remember you are the video game creator of your
Right.
quantum.
You're
So if you focus on it enough and you give it enough attention and love and compassion, and there's other people that do it with you,
yeah,
that will be in your future.
exactly.
Because especially if it's done with pure intent and pure heart,
That part there, speak on that, Jonathan, because I see a lot of people with, and again, I'm not throwing shade here, but I'm just saying that this is a real thing. I see a lot
yeah,
of people within the spiritual community that'll be like, you just have to set this incantation out and you just have to say this and then you'll get whatever it is that you want. And like, no, man.
mm-mm.
If it is not in alignment with the highest good of all and with pure intentions, it's not happening.
Right, because it's out of divine order.
That.
It's literally out of natural
That.
order. It's out of fractality. It just won't. And actually, a lot of times, if you ask it a weird way and you're not really recognizing it that way because you haven't done some type of inner work to balance that part,
Yes.
it's actually the opposite. It's like a reflection of the negative coming back
Yes.
at you.
Yes.
It's like the universe going, okay, bitch, I'm gonna give you a lesson because you still ain't learned it. Whack. That's what it is. So again, it's not telling people that I'm better than you. It's just
No,
I went
but there's
down that road and the universe bitch slapped me, and I don't want to get bitch slapped anymore. I'm done. So, but that's truly what it is.
it is though, like it's so true. I tell people all the time, you guys don't understand this manifestation thing, like being a master manifester or being able to rapidly manifest things is a blessing and a curse if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
The universe is not above being like, oh, this is what you think you're about to do. Like, feel every piece of this.
Yeah. You went back and forth. So you got hit really hard.
Because I'm not telling anybody anything that I haven't had to learn. Like, I learned best by trial and error.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I wasn't putting anything out there that was like negative, but like also there's this thing, if you're trying to manifest something and you don't have full 100% confidence and faith that is going to happen, like the universe reads that as like, you think this is a game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you're
When
playing
you
the wrong game. It is a
right,
game, but you're playing the wrong game.
playing the wrong game.
Yeah.
It reads out into the universe as like not like, I don't really believe in your power kind of energy. And then the universe will do one of two things back to you. Be like, here's this smack, or send you some convoluted thing that you didn't want. And now you're like, oh, yes.
Yeah. Well, and I will say, like, to kind of get real deep with it, though,
Yeah.
from my understanding at a higher perspective, I'm saying things that outside of myself, like
Exactly.
just show they embody,
Yes.
is that often with what people label as manifestation is they look at the effect, right? Well, the law of, we have to abide by certain laws in our physical, and the law of cause and effect is one of them.
Absolutely.
The intention is the cause, if you
Yes.
just want to say it. So really, like you said, is just that, is the intention is just as important of whatever you're visualizing you want it to be.
Yes.
And that's a mind trap on its own, because you really have to let go of any expectation and control of what that looks like for yourself, like the medbed situation. If so many people rely on it to just show up, but they still support McDonald's, or they still like, are bringing pizzas, like 5 pizzas to the family party, like it's like, you're not going to get a med in your future, because that's how the quantum works. It's like your action is like a reflection of that too. You don't even have to think it. It'll just I
Yes.
told my daughter this, like, we had a discussion, a while back about a little bit about her softball. I don't want to get too personal for her, is that,
Yeah.
but like, I just told her, I'm like, Juju, you don't have to tell me about what your softball and you're doing. She's like, what do you mean, Dad? I'm like, I just see it. That's telepathy. I
Yes.
just see what you're doing. That tells me myself what I see, like, how hard you're working, or your mom says, oh yeah, she's doing this. Like, we don't need to talk to you about it. So
I see it.
that, right. It's action, right?
Right.
Action is
That it's
action.
the actions that come from it. And again, it's when you're in alignment and you've been doing the work, literally the actions are your testimony. Like you see it. You can just
Right.
visibly see it.
Right.
Gosh.
Right.
I love that with you. I mean, saying I had a guest on 2-3 days ago, and she said the same thing kind of about with her daughter about like they'll just like see things,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
Well, and just remember, so like for me, that is a lot of it is set that intention. And if like you said, if the intention is pure, and if it usually, because people have to, I had a conversation with a really close friend of mine who I consider him oscillating at a very high rate as well. And he and I asked about like, where do you make the determination, these energetic boundaries with people, because of like where your energy is best sent as
Mhm.
service to others or service to yourself.
Yeah,
Because service to yourself can be very well service to others. Because
like that.
if I bring the most balanced version of myself to the table,
Yes,
and so does V, and so does other person they,
yes,
and we have a common interest that's balanced and goal we want to do,
hmm,
there's a lot of great positive
yeah,
energetic value behind that.
yeah.
So, but yeah, so that's purely what it is. And
Mhm.
I will say this, my understanding about furthering my gnosis and understanding about ascension, what does that even look like to people? Like, do people, I've been sitting here a lot, like if somebody actually ascends and gets to embody the Christos and start manipulating physical matter with their thoughts, is
Right.
pretty much what that representation is to me.
It is.
Like, first off, you got to be a very well balanced person, because that would be very chaotic if you had one single ill thought, which doesn't mean you're a bad person, but like, and it instantly happens.
Right.
So,
Now you got catastrophic.
right, you obviously have to master that skill entirely, but like,
Yeah.
that's what I think people don't understand. It's really, to me, it's not much different than what you've already been doing, because
Yeah. Exactly.
the work you're doing and the spiritual work that you're embodying
Yeah.
and the physical practices that you're building behind it, you see the energy, you see these changes,
Right.
and you don't have to validate them to anybody anymore. You don't have to say like, well, you don't have to tell your friends, like, it's just, I don't embody that anymore. And that's okay. Well, you used to, that's fine too. I used to,
But
that's fine too.
yes,
I'm okay with that.
that people say that frequently. Well, you used to like, yes, and like I didn't know that's the whole thing. You're supposed to experience and then like grow. Like my business model is evolve or repeat. Like
Right.
you're supposed to, okay, I did the thing, I learned from it, it wasn't for me, and then I grew, I kept it moving. Like,
Right. Recognize the bad pattern that you need to heal, or the
right,
negative block that
right,
keeps showing up. And sometimes that can be people. And that's the hardest thing through this process is
yeah,
people. I've learned too, is that I'm not going to call anybody out specifically, but like, you know how it is. It's the same for a
hmm,
lot of us. Like,
yeah,
you have to balance yourself away from certain family members or
yeah,
certain old friendships,
yep, yeah,
but that doesn't make yourself, like, that's not a negative thing upon yourself. And when you really start actually, like, what's funny is I've realized is like, people start seeing you more as a light to be a better version of them.
exactly.
And that's really all it is like, they just have to see it. Again, they don't have to talk to you, but they are observing
But they
things that are
but they're watching, like they're
right.
watching heavy. They're watching
And that's
heavily.
okay. Cause
Yeah,
it's really just like, if you think of it, the compassion that we understand is as they come back into our vortex, because
right,
think of it like energy too. Like, you're building an energetic vortex. So
Yeah.
really you're no longer searching for things. These things just kind of like, they come to you when it's
Exactly.
the proper time to do this. Just like getting into this discussion and like,
Yeah.
I'd actually like to bridge this too. I don't want to forget about the Yeshua archetype because
Yes.
that is very meaningful to me.
Go ahead.
Because I think as we go further, but you know, I grew up like a Southern Baptist, and you know, you don't believe things a certain way, you know, you're
Exactly.
gonna, yeah. So you got fire and hell in your future.
That's
So
it. Exactly. Like, oh, you speaking that devil stuff.
right,
Yeah.
but I never really saw people embody it. They would
Nah.
talk about it, but they
Yeah.
never the the stuff behind it didn't ever add up to me. So I think
Ever.
I distanced myself a little bit about that, but I've
Yeah.
always had a representation of being like more spiritual. Like I
Exactly.
and but you know, as religions, in my opinion, especially these like old Abrahamic religions, these as they start to kind of like not have the support that they had, you know, I always like to say this, it's not about, if you want to go to church and that's meaningful for you and it's spiritual and it helps you get
Right.
into yourself, that's good.
That's fine.
But the Age of Aquarius, in my understanding, is if you continue to like worship a physical idol, it's going to be
Man.
hard for you to ascend and raise your vibration because that
Yeah.
is an attachment. And that
Yeah.
is a hard one that even for myself, because I've always felt a strong sense of spirituality, even though I was raised in the church. But then, so like, you know, even in my fire academy, I was like the only one like got up and like did a prayer for everybody. So even later in life, I still had a lot of spiritual nature to myself, but I knew it didn't definitely align 100% with the church. And then
Sure.
I learned a lot about like, you know, the start of the Roman Catholic Church was just a Roman emperor who wanted everybody under the same thing. And then
Yeah.
I've learned a lot about like Egyptian mythology and the sun god religions, and really how
Yeah.
the early sun god religions, it's just a cross in the sun, and it's not Jesus on the cross. It's literally, it's more of your magnetic inner sun. It's,
Inner. Yeah.
yeah, it's when these two, it's the toroids, and you have this heart variation, and
Yeah.
you can amplify that. You can
Exactly.
change that.
Exactly.
And they just kind of, I don't, who cares if they tricked us or they didn't, or it was malicious? I don't care to debate that with anybody. I just know what is happening at this nexus
Currently.
point, my
Right.
now, and
Yes.
live from that state. And
Right.
what can we show now? You know,
Mhm.
so but I think that's a hard one for people because they still attach like
The pastor.
God and a hierarchy structure and these
Right.
things of like, you know, it's going to be hard for some people, but I've also learned that's okay, because the divine masculines that are actually like stepping in, and that is not gender specific. So even when women
Yes.
balance their divine masculine,
Yes.
they lead a different way.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
that's really all it is that's the balance being brought in the Age of Aquarius, because then the divine feminines
Mhm.
step in because we hold that space.
Exactly.
Or other women who are balancing themselves, they hold that space. And right now I've noticed in the spiritual community, people who I would consider embody more of what like a natural spirit or essence of like the Magdalene energy, or
Yeah.
like the Yeshua energy.
Mhm.
So I look at these things as energetic values, because it makes no sense, and it's a futile discussion for me and you to spend really any energy asking if these people physically existed. Neither
This.
of us can actually prove that.
Right.
We
Right.
weren't there thousands of years ago.
Right.
But if you look at the stories and you look at the things that were there to teach us, you
Mhm.
know, this is a lot of it, is there's a lot of zodiac structure behind it. And when
Exactly.
you move into the Age of Aquarius, it's about the pouring of spiritual knowledge that will ascend a certain level of humanity. And we
Yes.
go through these evolutionary cycles. And this 3D to 5D shift, the reason that it has such the energetic value behind it is because in the cosmos, they've only tried to do this a a rarity of times from this such dense structure.
Right. Exactly.
So giving everybody the ability to like tap into this, like there's a lot of integration parts too. So remember that, like there's a
Yeah.
lot of action, but you
Yes.
also need to take a lot of times to integrate that action. That's the feminine, right? To me, that's like when they say the logos, that's the breath in, and then that's the exhale,
Exhale.
that's the,
Yeah.
okay, we can sit
Yeah.
in it now. And like, so, but at a cosmological scale, that's why this is really, really impressive and cool to be a part of, is because like, if you understand it at a
Zoomed
soul,
out level.
mind orchestrated level,
Yeah.
is that there's help from above and help from, we know this, channelers are commonly tapping into this data. Bashar, like you just look at all the people who seem genuine that are really have some good information, people like
Right.
yourself, what you've been doing to raise the consciousness. So
Yeah.
to maybe like bring this full circle is that that's what you've been doing, and me and you are similar in that. So
Yes.
part of my work is go to grids and like help raise, you're just raising the collective consciousness literally just by like, now once this is filmed, like this is in the eternal now and a nexus point from now on,
Exactly.
like this,
Yeah.
right? And we co-created that together at a very similar,
Level.
so this ascension is, it's just an octave scale, but you have to be very balanced into that Christos, which means a lot of things, because once you start having the ability to physically manipulate things and bring things to you, like, and you're seeing this, you have to be balanced. And that's the actual like octave structure that's design, that's divine in its own orchestration. Because think of it like this. So that's why that 4D is such a buffer.
It is like the void space.
Because once people start tapping into that 5D structure,
Mm-hmm.
cell rejuvenation, life, longevity, and all these things, you have to be balanced, because if you could do some really bad stuff with that, it could mess some stuff up
Yeah.
really quick. So, but the thing is, the divine structure is, if you really start manipulating, or that is it, you're no longer in that 5D conscious state. You're
Correct.
back down into that dense level. That's why there's that, I don't know how to say it. That's why that there's such that divine buffer at that
Yeah.
space for
Yes.
higher realm, for higher
Exactly.
dimensions.
Yeah.
Is because of that, because they in the energy value that we're bringing behind this is, think of it like this: we're just reconnecting with our star families. And
Yeah.
yes, you can be incarnated at many different things, but like truly, usually a soul spark has an origination where they're
Mm-hmm.
usually mostly embodied, and they even have an energetic expression that they mostly
Exactly.
embody,
Exactly.
that they
Yeah.
bring into that realm as they
Yeah.
reincarnate. And it's actually by divine order, because divine order kind of knows through that ascension process, like, hey, if I put a bunch of seeds
Yes.
and they're all like this, a
Yes.
few of them are going to ascend, and they're going to,
Yeah.
because that's what their energy does and has done
Right.
in other places and other nexus points.
Right.
So, but yeah, so that's all we're doing in this process, is we're anchoring that stuff in here in the physical and reconnecting that. And it's still just a process, but there is a big switch in that way of thought, and that way of mindset, and how you start embodying that energy and how you spend it with people and things. So everything has to be, think of it like this. People always ask me like how they decipher certain situations or relationships a lot. To me, it's always energy.
It's
That's,
energy. It's
it's
literally energetic.
even with children,
Yes.
I've
Yes.
been around autistic kids that I
Absolutely.
have gotten along with really well, because we both have high energy.
Yeah.
But the thing is, they're very present, and I can teach them something.
Yeah.
So there's also, I get to master a skill as well. It's not just about them, right?
No.
I get
Right.
something out as well, but that's the balance. And you see it like when those exchanges happen, you see it like, wow. And then you think about like, if so many humans at a deep level were tapping into this, teaching it, and really orchestrating their children to creatively do it before the age of
Absolutely.
7, like that's massive. So,
Absolutely.
but yeah, and I got on a little bit of a side note there, sorry, but
No.
the Yeshua and Magdalene balancing those energies, like, to me, like, that's this golden age, all these different things, the age of Aquarius, like, it's here.
Yeah.
Like, people, the time is now. Like, you're going to start to be shown by certain people that
Hmm.
can tap into this, and they're doing things, and they are your light. That is your light. That is your beacon to say, hey, what is that person doing? Right.
Yeah.
Because, and then it's up for us to hold that space.
Yeah.
Right. But
Yeah.
usually, again, it's about that vortex, because now when people are coming to you, they're ready to receive the message.
That, and that's something that I have had to say frequently. Like, I don't know if you've experienced this yet or not, but when starting this business, or when starting this whole journey of helping people and spreading my messages and doing all the things, there's a lot of, I'm trying to find the most correct way to say this, but there's like a lot of
It's
old
okay. Breathe
world
and take your time.
old world business people who want to like try to say this is how you should be doing X,
Mm,
Y, and Z, because
mm,
that's how they built their business, and they don't know. Like, no, what I do, what I'm being called to do, everything happens energetically. The people who need me, my people, will come to me and find me effortlessly and energetically, because that's just what happens at this point with me. But they don't. I think a video of mine posted today that literally, that was the message, that not everybody is going to be able to understand what it is that you do, and you're not meant to be wasting your time or energy trying to explain it.
mm,
Your
mm,
people will come to you and immediately know, like,
mm.
this is a person that I need to connect with for whatever reason. And it is an energetic repellent to chase after things.
Right.
It is such an energetic, like, I'm not chasing men, I'm not chasing money, I'm not chasing opportunities. Like, what is meant for me will come into me, and
Mhm.
that is how it is. When you get to that point where you can relax into the present and be in your
Mhm.
sovereign space, in your sovereign energy, and say, okay, God, source, universe, I'm open and ready to receive what is in alignment with my highest good, purpose, self, destiny, and timeline, and just let it be.
Right.
You have opened up so much free space for the
Mhm.
divine to deliver to you exactly what it is that you need when you need it
Mhm.
at the precise timing. You can't make it come in any faster, and you can't
Mm-mm.
delay it. Like,
Mm-mm. And
that's,
sometimes that growth can be in suffering.
yeah, absolutely.
Recognize that. It's okay. We all
Yeah,
suffer to some degree.
exactly.
Nobody's a victim in this. Like, we're
Right.
all the same in that
It's just part of
aspect.
it. Yeah.
Mm.
And that's it. And but I think that's where there's a lot of this clash kind of happening between a lot of people during this shift, is where it's, you still have some people wanting to do things in like that old mindset,
Old low vibration.
that,
Right.
and then want to, while great, you have your multitudes, your millions upon millions, and you have your businesses and you have your success, and
It's
that's
all
great.
man-made.
Right. And you have
The
that.
universe doesn't speak in money.
You know what I'm
It just
saying?
doesn't.
It
Like,
just
I've
doesn't.
I've seen a lot of people who, like, they think like abundance, and they're like, abundance can come in many forms. It
A
could be
lot of things.
a new friendship. It could
Right.
be, it doesn't have to be money. The
Money.
universe doesn't recognize that, because it's a man-made construct.
Exactly.
So if
Exactly.
any of your intention or any of that is money, you can make money. But
Right.
to me, like, the what you've done is you've just orchestrated and manipulated your way to make money, because you can do that in the
Right.
holographic matrix. You can make money in the matrix,
Right.
but making money in New Earth,
Yeah, it's different. It's your energy is literally
well,
your currency.
there you go. Thank you. That's exactly what it is.
Yes.
That's exactly what I've been shown, the same thing, that literally your energy is your
Your
currency and how you
energy is your
spend it.
currency.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because the most balanced you doesn't have to work 10 hours a day.
Yep.
But you also don't need, I don't need a 7-bedroom house with a pool that has a swim up bar either. Like, there was some wide receiver down in Miami who went bankrupt and they were selling his house. Like here recently, I saw like just flash through my social media, which I don't know why. My
Right, right.
algorithm's usually pretty strong,
It
but it
just be
came up on,
random, like random
yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
right.
What
But
is
he's
this?
trying to sell a 9-bedroom house with a swim up pool and all this. And it's like, man, that's the stuff that like the
Yeah.
universe doesn't speak and you can
No.
go make those contracts work. But to me, like, I don't need that much food. And like,
Right.
if I want to go do grid work,
Hmm.
I've set my intention on the work itself and the opportunity to do it just takes
Comes
place.
exactly,
Like
exactly.
literally the last time I went, I made it there and back because a friend of mine had points, which I was lucky,
Yes.
and the cheaps were just flight or cheap enough. And like, and we fasted the whole time I was there and they like kind of took me in and just, we hung out. And so they made me
Yeah.
food the other nights that I actually ate. They kind of spent like $75 to get there and like $85 on food while I was there.
Exactly. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like people wonder, like, how the hell do you get to wherever? Because that's just how it is.
Right.
People think all the time. They're like, oh, you're doing some spell, or you've got like 19 sugar daddies and this and that. That's it. Like, no, man, that's not it at all. It's my energy. Like,
No.
God source universe just provides whatever it is that I need. And I like the last time I found a super, like, I think I paid $100 for this flight. And then they ended up reimbursing me because like there was some sort of flight delay. So essentially the flight was free. So,
Dang.
but like it was a sale came up really fast for a hotel in Florida. I mean, like it was like
Mm.
an email that I got that I typically never get. And it was like flash sale for hotels. And I was like, and then I just looked. I think the hotel was $85. I stayed there for 2 nights.
That's nice.
Do you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like,
Yeah. And you know what's funny is like I just hear when you're telling me that though that like that's to me more of what I would say for myself, my feminine side, because you're in touch with that intuition just kind of told you to look at it
look,
and then you're
yeah.
like, and as you raise your vibration, discernment is a lot. Like
Oh man.
I will
Yeah.
say, like people have to understand like how like think of it like this. I see this, and you've probably heard this or seen this saying is that like what a great way to manipulate and like enslave a bunch of gods is to make them think they could never be gods. And it's not like
Right.
we're God or we're source, but we're a part of that. We're all one.
Exactly.
We are a part of source
But
energy. And
but
when you die, and
yes.
my understanding about plasma is that's what a collection of channelers have said is that it takes about 3 human days for the astral body to like fully get back. Well, that makes sense in the cosmos and the zodiac and the cosmological structure because on December 22nd, the sun stays there on that same degree line and it rises the same on the 23rd and 24th. And on the 25th, it finally moves from it's into the winter solstice, but it goes into the northern hemisphere.
Right.
And that 3-day constellation period is actually what they call the South Cross, the
Yeah.
crux.
Yeah.
And that's where they give Jesus its physical form to worship. And to
Yeah.
me, like, I will say this, my understanding about symbolism is, and I would have these talks with people if they're open to it, for sure.
Yeah.
But like, it's a upside down triad. So it's actually pagan in its form.
Right. Yes.
So because the triad structure is something that's divine in order, I've gotten a lot of, I don't know, downloads is what people says, right?
Right. Yeah.
Channeled
You can say it
messages.
with confidence, Jonathan. I saw
Well,
you
it's like,
I
I
saw
know,
you
just
like,
like,
I don't know if I should say this.
yeah. No, you go ahead, say it. You can say it. Yeah. I've been starting to get into a state when I talk to people, I just channel. And there's actually like different entities move in my body differently.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, when I get my masculine super heavy, like it's the Yeshua archetype and he makes me walk. And I just walk. But then I always remember as a little boy, Jesus walks. So there's even
Yeah.
that song,
Yeah.
like, I can't
Yeah.
remember, like, my mom made me watch that, like, when Jesus walks, you know, like that song.
What was it
But,
like, Jonathan? What was it like?
but again, it's just a representation of tapping into that energy. And like,
Right.
we can all do it. I'm not special, right? Like we can all do it. We just do
Right.
it differently, or we have a different superpower or whatever that is. And like the holographic matrix, every time you kind of have those doubts that these things, especially synchronicities, like I have a lot of them,
Yeah.
they're like stacking
Constant.
way. Now they're
Con-
like, now I'll see like 2 or 3 same time.
yeah. And you're
Like,
like,
so it's like boom, boom, boom. It's all once. I'm like, shit. But remember, like anytime you do have that doubt, like that's why that dense octave structure's been so dense for thousands of years,
yeah.
because it's hard to break free from that
Yeah.
and say that, like, no, that's my intuition. And my intuition is attached to that spiritual side. And
Yeah.
that's right.
Yes.
And that led me to a 2-day free stay at a
Yeah.
hotel in Florida.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly. Exactly. But speak on that real quick about how do you, for you, just in your own experience, how has it been embracing the divine feminine part of you? Like, has it?
uh,
Yeah. that was
man,
that it in general. Just
that's been missing, man. She's been missing. Magdalene's what I
been
call her.
missing.
Yeah, and she makes me sway. Like she makes me go back and forth. Like when I get into a channeled state with her. But like,
Like the emperor and the empress triangle.
right, she's powerful as shit, though, man. Like, no, seriously, like people don't understand. Like she'll kick up the wind, and it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and like, like weird. Like she's like a fierce feline cat, and like
Yeah.
I just started having a meditation about her, and a cat just came right into my
Yeah.
space right
Yeah.
then. So there's a lot of things that happen, but as these processes take place in your physical, and again, the holographic structures make you think you're crazy, but you're not.
You're not. Yeah.
You're not crazy. So, but the feminine was a lot about creativity for me,
Mm-hmm.
and like really like more embodying that. And I know I will. I think that's what people. I want to say this too. My understanding deeper into it is that this is a process that you start to really embody and enjoy, and that like you just grow. It's not like you really ever plateau and kind of stop. Like I went painting the other day, and I really want to take some time. I've just been doing other work, but I really want to take the time to stop and paint because I was really into my feminine. Smoked a bunch of weed and then just started painting.
Yeah.
And like I could tell what it does for my strong masculine action side of me is it makes me slow the way the fuck down.
Yeah. Exactly.
And into my exhale, right? Like
Yeah.
into that like and
Relax.
right. And my
Relax. Slow.
partner, she's an amazing person, and that's what she does, try to like ground me. And
Yeah.
that's because sometimes I just want to fly, like what my Neo archetype is what I've been told.
Yeah.
So that's like my Telegram tag was like Neo. So,
Yeah.
but we're all kind of Neo in some way. We're breaking the matrix. We're the
Yeah.
tip
Yeah.
of the spear, and it
Yeah.
hasn't been done in a long time, and it hasn't been done in this way.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say. In this way, it hasn't been done like ever. Like what we're doing right now is new, new. Like new.
Right. Right.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, I tell people like are you familiar with like the tarot? The
So I'm not as familiar with the tarot yet. I'm actually
or-
about to
you
go
got
do I'm about to go do a little trip with somebody. It's gonna be really powerful. We've been building a lot of intention and some energy towards it, and he's really into tarot, so I think I'm gonna learn a lot. So this is kind of cool that you're bringing it up. So please teach me.
So the Emperor and the Empress, they're card number 3 and card number 4. Is also why, like, again, Roman numeral 7, the combined of the emperor and the empress. But the balanced emperor can only drive the chariot, and the chariot being the divine vessel or the Merkaba, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but literally the chariot will not move. And on the chariot card, like if you're using a traditional rider weight deck, there's usually like 2 horses of opposite colors. Usually one is black and white, or one is blue or red. Whatever the case may be, it's 2 horses of the opposites. So bringing the opposites together, but in order for the chariot to move, the 2 horses have to stay in alignment and be going the same direction. And the only way that they can stay going the same direction is if a balanced emperor is driving that chariot.
What does that
So
mean to you?
it's literally this. You have to be balanced within the self. Like you have to fully embrace and embody both aspects of your emperor and your empress and go through those shadow aspects. You have to have sat with your darkness, your pain, your suffering, your trauma, and alchemize that and then okay with it and fully know each aspect of both sides and keep those two together enough in harmony to move forward in your divine vessel, like being the divine entity in the physical, kind of what we mentioned earlier about, this.
Can I ask you something? What's the emperor to you and what's the empress to you? Like, could you define that for yourself?
Yeah. So, like, for me, my emperor is the one that takes charge, that takes the action, that has the plan, that is connected to the physical world. The Empress is typically what I'm constantly in. And for the longest, it was a struggle for me to access the physical world because I'm so much tapped into spirit all the time. People usually resonate with either immanence or transcendence, and I'm a transcendence person. I'm comfortable within the cosmos, within the ethereal beings, within the astral and quantum realms. That's where I thrive. However, the emperor he rules the physical, and he is all about, okay, we're connecting, we're running things here in the 3D, and he's very meticulous and logical and grounded in very no nonsense as well, like no, very authoritarian. But then the empress comes in and is like, no, like we're doing things differently here. Yes, we have to have action, but it's about flow. We're flowing. We're not chasing things. Like I understand that's how the emperor does his thing in the
It's
physical.
about rhythm in that action.
Exactly. It's
Right.
we're doing things in a different. And for me, for a long time, my emperor and empress were going at it constantly because there was a time where I felt like I'm not doing any action, like nothing's happening here. I need to be doing something. And that whole time it was me being kind of in that 4D void space and learning, but the emperor was like, gotta
Hmm.
be doing something. Why are we not doing anything? Me, Empress, in Empress mode, I understand it fully. No, we're sitting here, we're learning, we're growing, we're healing, we're adapting, we're integrating. This is
Mm,
what you need to just chill the fuck out.
mm.
Calm down because you're messing us up. And
Well said.
yeah, that's been my experience. But now learning to drive the chariot is kind of where I'm at now in this flow of like so this is what this vehicle can do. I also
Hmm.
gave the example of going from like a base model Honda Civic to like a Bugatti Veyron or like a Rolls Royce like overnight, and it's got all these bells and whistles when you were just used
Hmm.
to kind
But
of
think about that. Like, that's kind of a representation of what we already kind of went over too, is that, like, again, that does not gender specific, and
no.
people have to really get outside of that, is that the masculine in you has been imbalanced, right? And
Yeah.
my masculine was over masculinated because I had imbalanced my feminine. So my masculine was also imbalanced. And that is the age of Pisces. That is duality at its pure form.
Yeah.
So, like, living outside of that, if you want to live outside of duality and ascend people, I'm sorry, like, that is the structure. You have to get outside of that.
Yeah.
So did you say, I was really trying to take in all the tarot information. Sorry if I
No.
close my eyes sometimes, but
No.
did you say there's two empresses or there's a second? You said there's a second horse or something that helps. Can you explain that part again?
Yeah, so on the chariot, it's the chariot card. It's a part of the
Right.
major arcana. The emperor, the empress, and the chariot are all major arcana cards. Major arcana is essentially like it's like a divine thing. It can't be changed or manipulated by something
Right.
that you choose. But
Hmm.
on the chariot card, it's in the wider ride or wait deck, typically depicted as a like again like a chariot that's being led by two horses of different
Mm.
colors. One is usually either
Okay.
red or blue or black or
Uh,
white.
Uh-huh. Okay, so the symbolism there.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
let's attach that, is
Yeah,
that's the triad.
correct.
That's the Trinity,
Yes.
because it has many forms, but you have the expression
Hmm.
or the action,
Hmm.
then you have the reflection of that,
Yeah.
then you have the observation of that.
Yeah.
So as we start to embody this Trinity form and step outside of duality, this is actually going to be a main component in our social orders. And
Right.
this isn't, so getting past a little bit past after you've kind of balanced this, because it does mean many things. The driver, the chariot, to me in symbolism is the masculine,
Hmm.
whether
Right.
it's inside you or it's inside a group of people or a collective of consciousness, right?
Right.
But that's been imbalanced. So when that's balanced more, and with also meaning Gaia, we always talk about ourselves. Gaia is also,
Hmm.
I've had
A
a
component.
lot of source kind of conversations about her energy, and he's talking about her.
Right.
So, uh, but, yeah, so I'm sorry, I just lost my little flow there.
It's okay. It happens to me frequently.
Uh, yeah, where was I?
You were talking about as we get into the triad with the,
Oh, social orders in the triad system. So that's the masculine is more the action and yeah, the idea, the expression. Uh, then you have the reflection, then you have the observation. So I don't know really, this is a lot of like kind of newer thought forms for people, but a, where a lot of energy imbalances have happened, even in relationships, is sometimes that's because a duality stays between two
right.
people.
Right.
And even whether that's in a lot of relationships, business partnerships, or whatever, there's going to be a lot of social orders that they'll show that when they're built in this triadic expression,
Hmm.
because what happens, and I've actually kind of already experienced this, and not to get too personal, it wasn't anything of a intimate relationship with people,
Right.
but more of a business and purposeful relationship with all wanting the same, what we felt was the same idea and expression and action we wanted to create. And when one of them kind of came out of alignment with the other two, just in energy really, and kind of what was being done, the other two stepped away, right? It was kind of like,
Right.
so that's what always happens in that structure. And that's what's actually beautiful about it. And I've actually seen it like in physical form, like start to take place, even it
Right.
with balanced people, when they start getting together and doing things, and there's more than three of them, and they have these like dialogues that where sometimes things can have a lot of different perspectives coming together at one meeting spot.
Right.
Having that third person, it really does help. It
Yes.
really, really
Yeah, it
does.
does. No, it does. It's like and even again, what is it? It's like Father, Son, Holy Spirit. And
Right.
also like my logo, I always have the triangle.
Yes.
But it
Okay.
can on upward, sorry, I'm not like upward and downward, it's the feminine and the masculine,
Mm-hmm.
like fire, water.
Right.
And it's a whole it's a whole thing. Having that third person, somebody said, like, oh, so you mean being like a third wheel, but like no, like no, like the having that kind of third person that's got the zoomed out perspective, it's crucial to again solving a lot of two people issues, you know, kind of like having a
Right.
personal mediator.
Yeah, that's exactly a good way to explain it. And yeah, I've seen it that same way because
Yeah.
and then you might be the mediator because
Right.
you're also in that trinity.
Right.
And that is the thing. And you understand it from that perspective because you were just in a situation where maybe somebody had to be the mediator for you in a whatever.
Right.
But that, and I will say, like, nobody could sit here and say that they know it all and they know
No.
exactly what the future is going to look like. There's a lot of probabilities. Again, it's where your attention goes, your energy flows. And that's also,
Exactly. Yeah.
also collectively, I did a big episode with a really, really amazing soul down in El Salvador, Francisco, on that topic. And it gets really into the quantum structure and like synchronicities and how the universe talks to us.
Right.
Uh, but yeah, I mean, it's this triad structure. I don't know how to fully embody that. I just know that there is like a lot of divine order.
Mm-hmm.
I've been blessed to be working with somebody who's very, very, how do I say this? Intelligent about like understanding super complex language models.
Right.
And he built his, and I didn't even know this till the other day. But he built his in a triad form, because even when he gave it these, at its core function, 3 principles to base it off of, it changed the whole dynamics of it.
Right.
And we will start to see that take place. And I don't know how that fully embodies for people. Like, people can take that kind of how they want it. I know a lot of people take that to a relationship form, and they think of like, whatever, polygamy and all these other little, like, I will say, I didn't know this, and I'm not trying to talk negatively, but I know in the spiritual community, there's, I guess, because I've never really been in these spaces. I didn't even really know they existed till recently, where they're more like hooking up spiritual spaces, where people were like
Yeah, like,
dating a lot of the same people inside of it. And hey, here's the thing. I'm not against it if it has a lot of meaning for those people. But
right.
for me, the way I discern that and my understanding of it is sexual relationships are sacred, and that energy that's built is sacred.
Right.
And the thing is, I'm not saying you can't do that with more than one person a certain way. I'm sure there probably is like a way that happens, and there's a more energetic value behind it. But I'm just saying this, that like, when it's just the intention, right? When it's just a not pure hearted or pure intent of just like hooking up, it doesn't have the same energy, and it's actually low vibration. So to me,
Right.
that's where I discern the two, if people like talk about it from that expression,
Right.
or from that perspective. So
Right.
I don't know what that, and that's up to the individual. It's like,
Right.
nobody's saying you can't still have monogamous relationships. It's just this triad function. I know there's a lot to it moving forward in our social order, our social construct, moving outside of duality.
Yeah.
So I think as we embody more of these principles and practices into our daily life, those things they'll be there for us. That information will be there for us when we're ready to receive it.
Right.
I just don't think that we're all ready to receive it.
Nah, not at all. Not at all. And again, I think that as far as the sexual relationships thing goes, it's a to each its own thing, but like me personally, like I have to have like very close, intimate. There has to be like the intimacy has to be there, and energetically there has to be. I mean, it's gotta be like A1, divinely approved, like, especially at this point, because again,
Mm-hmm.
we had this conversation. Is if you give your sacral energy, your life force energy to someone who has not done the work, you take on their burdens, their karma, and their energetic bullshit. And I'm telling everybody this because I hate when people become spiritually awakened and then they act like they have never done anything bad. Like, if you've not gone through like a hoe phase at some point, let's just stop.
Hey, or a captain save a hoe phase. So either way.
All the things, you know what I mean? All the things where I learned while going through this, that I'm like, what is happening with me? And it was me taking on all the energetic and karmic bullshit of the people that I slept with.
Right.
And after learning that, I was like, I'm good. Now everything has to be absolutely aligned, because again,
Right.
the things that you go through, they're lessons. They're not life sentences. You need to take that information and that knowledge and go forward with it, right? Use what you've learned. I cannot, again, it's just me. I cannot give my life force energy, my sacral energy, to somebody that has not done the work. And people ask me all the time, oh, you're single, you're not sleeping with anybody, oh, you're celibate. Like, yes, because I've learned. And now, like, I'm stingy with I'm stingy with my energy. Like, this, your body is your temple, and like, you just can't, like, you just can't just be giving it to anybody once you have done the work to heal yourself. You just can't. I don't know. That's me. That's where I'm at with it. But that's a question that I get frequently. Is like, oh, so you're not sleeping with anybody? Oh, you're single? You're not dating around? No,
Hmm.
because whoever is meant for me will come in and it'll be an immediate,
Hmm.
you'll know energetically.
So I will say, like, here's one thing that I think goes for men too. Again, this is not gender specific. This is energy specific when I say this.
Right.
That I think some of where we've got into duality, though, is a lot of times, in my perspective, from my experience in life, when I eventually got physical with a woman, she just wanted me to just be hers. And that was it.
Hmm.
And that's also out of divine order,
Right.
because that's why we're also like seeing data and show where people are 3 times divorced, have 2 kids with the wrong people before you're 30. And
Right.
and it doesn't mean that those children are bad children or anything. That has nothing to, it's just, that's a hard structure. It's an out of kind of divine order. And really, like, there should be more of a fluidness to the dating until you, like you said, you have built
Until
that
you,
energy
right.
with that person, and you have to determine however that is for you as the individual.
Exactly.
That's so individual. You
Exactly.
know, you're right. From my understanding is that, like, and I think I've experienced it, like the energy behind it, like when you just give it away,
Mhm.
is like, there isn't any. It's
Mhm.
just, it's low vibration, and like
Yeah.
the energy built behind it when it's the right way, it's high vibration.
Right.
It's when people talk about like Kundalini, like I've kind
Fact.
of had an understanding that, well, for one, you can have Kundalini by yourself, and I've
Exactly.
had
Yes.
those, but like
Yes.
it's not had to be a sexual thing.
Right.
It's purely a state of bliss thing. But like that's actually on the energy scale, actually kind of low from
Mhm.
what we'll see. And that's to compartmentalize that and you experience those. That's like, wow, that's pretty, massive in itself. But like,
Exactly.
so the energies that we're going to start to be able to embody and see in things are going to be, they're going to be
Huge.
very different, huge. Yeah. Once, like you said, you've done the work and the resonance is there because you're doing it at a higher octave. So, and it's more in alignment with divine order.
Exactly.
It's pure hearted, it's pure intended. And when those all kind of align, there's a lot of energy behind it.
It
Yeah.
is like it's a cosmic ripple effect that
Mhm.
happens. Like everybody, I told somebody, I was like, when you and your divinely appointed spouse come together and hook up for the first time, like the entire universe and galaxy is gonna know that y'all smashing. Like literally, like it's gonna like metaphoric and literal fireworks are gonna be sparked throughout not just this universe and galaxy, but every other like new planets and cosmos that are gonna be born
Yeah.
and like
But they can't be like the Palladians, what they did to themselves. People know what they did? Have you
probably
ever
not,
heard that story?
probably not. Let's talk about it.
They were over feminized in their expression and they wanted to control the masculine and kind of how that order was. And they did it so harshly that they drove the masculine completely out of their like
No,
construct. Yeah. And that's why they actually have to fix a lot of that karma for themselves. And I know that they're one of the big groups that are helping right now. Like the
yes, exactly,
Lyrans, the
yes,
Pleiadians, and the Arcturians are
and
kind of like
Arcturians,
the
yes,
three, like really leading the charge. So,
absolutely,
but I
absolutely.
think that's a part of their karma fixing is
Yeah, they're like, "Oops, let me come
we
here and
gotta we
let me
gotta
just
come to this duality state that
yes,
we kind of, because and uh I will say I think I kind of maybe said this earlier, but I don't know if I quite finished, and we talked about it a little bit before in a really good flow, is that so we are just learning that these are our star families and that we're
mhm,
just reconnecting with them they're at a higher octave, if you want to
right,
say they're just resonating. So that's why you can't really see them until you start resonating higher, and
right,
you will start seeing things. If you go stare at the sky,
yeah,
you'll see things in the sky that you haven't
absolutely,
seen before. Like I'm telling
absolutely,
you.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
But they're there to reconnect with that,
yes,
but think of it like this. The reason they have so much, again, so much value and support for us in this process
Right.
is for them to ascend their plasma intelligence to a different octave or a different state, right? To
Right.
evolve. They
Right.
have to help it. It's like, again, it's like,
Like
think
a
of it like
domino effect.
they're the master and they're the students. So they get energy out of it because for some of them, this is the first time they're really doing this type of energy exchange.
Exactly.
So they're learning and doing things that are super purposeful for them, helping us.
Yes.
So, but that's just how I fully understand it. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah.
It's a whole process. I mean, it is. It's like it is a whole orchestration that's happening right now. And I think, again, seeing the zoomed out perspective, I said it earlier, a lot of my waking and sleeping time is spent, amongst the cosmos, like in spirit. And
Mm,
the zoomed out perspective of it, of kind of looking at everything in the grand scheme, it's like, holy shit. Like, this is enormous. This is
mm,
enormous, and people are so caught up in small things that are
mm,
happening here. And I'm like, you have no idea, like, how much more is literally taking place right now. And you're worried about some shit that's going on at your 9 to 5. Like, man, let me tell you something. Your 9 to 5 doesn't matter. None of this
right.
matters. Like, these
But
Zoom.
you know what, V? Just create and be you and be
Hmm.
authentically you. And what's meant for you gets pulled towards you anyways, because really, those are the people that are ready to receive the message anyways.
Exactly.
If you're, and I'm not saying you can't go on social media and have some fun every now and then and drop a couple little truth bombs just to see people react. And it's not about a it's not about
Sounds like
it's not about manipulation for me. It's just to see how, but it's like to see where people are in their space,
it's
right?
like
Like
a
where
little
they're,
it's like the little ant farm, like
but just
to see how what are the ants going to do with this, like.
where's their resonance? Like, where's their
Yes.
attention? Where do
Yes.
they focus? Like in that Elena Denon thing, like if she's like tapping into these like high level energies, like people, in my opinion, were still asking her about Trump and like this shit. And I'm like, God dang, like
Ugh.
really? Like, oh, like, come on, man, quit giving your power to these people. People don't understand. Like literally, if you just don't vote, they don't exist. If
That
you don't, guess what? If you don't give it the attention, it doesn't exist in
it
your
doesn't
quantum.
exist.
That's how it
Right.
works. You literally
Right.
like incrementally shift your reality, and then these things like
Yeah.
fall off the wayside.
No, for real. Like it just like falls into oblivion. Like it's not there.
Well,
And
because your vortex is strong and what's really meant for you, and that distortion is so vast anymore from
yeah,
what you're at. It's not even there. So, like
exactly.
Bashar says, is like that two trains are leaving the station at the same time. Like
Right.
there for a while, it's in your periphery and your reality, but then you become so exited of it, right? That it's
Right.
like it's not even there anymore because it's so
Right.
that the resonance is so distorted. Your
Yes.
oscillation rate is so high, and whatever low vibration that thing that was, and it could be people. It doesn't have to be people. It just be
Right.
it could be a thought form that you had
Right.
that you've grown from because you've done the work. So, but yeah. So to me, that is the full embodiment of the ascension process, and I'm glad to finally have these talks with people because, it's, I think for people that are in these situations, I know for the most of us, this has been a way for us to connect because
Yeah.
it's hard to find people like this in your neighborhood.
No, yeah, no, we're definitely not nowhere near each
No,
other, like on the physical grid purposely, but it's super nice because I mean, for how
right.
long did we feel like very isolated, like we didn't belong. And it's both ways, we're here to create a new earth, so kind of both ways,
Amen.
seeing the coin, both sides of the coin, but
Right.
it is nice to again be looped back in with your people.
hmm Amen. Well, and that's just really pure in its form is because we had to like go into hermit mode to do
Yes.
the work. Like
Yes.
we had to like kind of go inside very deep, in a lot of levels for me. So, but now we are kind of like coming out of our shells and we're integrating that into our physical life, you
Yes.
know? So we've
Yeah.
done a lot of action for ourselves, but
Yes.
now we're integrating that into the physical.
Yes. Yes.
So, but yeah. So yeah, this has been
Jonathan,
amazing.
this has been amazing. I loved having you on here. I loved connecting with you. I loved our our flow, our little feng shui that we had going on. It was super great. And I hope this is just the beginning of our relationship, of being able to converse and bounce ideas and thoughts
Right.
and everything off of one another. I'm always here to talk to and all the things.
Yes. Same. This is actually very purposeful for me in what I'm supposed to embody in my soul mission. So,
Absolutely. Same.
and again, when I saw your thing, and I will say, like, it didn't take me long. I just listened to a little bit. I was like, oh yeah, this is my jam.
This is my jam.
Yeah. So I was like,
This is
all
it
right.
here.
Yeah. So again, that's proof in the pudding. Like
Yeah.
when you start oscillating and you get into flow, and that again, that resonance is starting to
Come together.
come together, that Vesica Pisces of energies. And now when we continue this work in balanced fashion, and then our groups even get a little bit bigger,
Yeah.
like you said, we were purposely placed pretty far away, most
Yes.
of us. So,
Yes.
yeah,
In
but,
places that needed us, like drastically.
right.
Yeah.
So, but I will say this, like, I will attest to this. People can really, really embody this moving forward, like
Mhm.
really embody it, because it's the Christos it's back in its physical form, and it's not specific to a person. It
Exactly. It's omnipresent.
it's the consciousness that's
Exactly.
back, and you can tap into it. And
Yeah.
however you embody that in your individual spiritual quests, like
Yeah.
it's here at a different level than it hasn't been in a very, very long time. And the
Right.
ability for us to do that has been here. So it's kind of like a party, but a balanced party. It's like
The
really
balance
cool.
party.
Like you're like the ending energetic expression of the trauma in your lineage if you're waking up, and you're co-creating a new earth and new reality,
Correct.
not just for yourself, but for the whole cosmos. Like,
Right. Yes.
and and when I channel, like, sorry, I didn't used to sweat, but like when I get into a little channeled state,
No, but same though. No, but same though. Like, look at me. I'm like massively shining. I'm like, oh my God. Literally, I'm like, oh my God. Like super hot. Like, are you burning up? And also, like, that's me. Yeah, no.
yeah, I've been told I smell like onions, which I didn't used to smell like onions, but now I smell like onions. So, but well,
Like,
do
I'm
you think
immediately getting off of here and taking a shower. That's exactly what I'm about to do.
I'm going to go stand out in the sun? Because what I've also learned is if you can embody plasma into your physical stuff, that's the representation of Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know, man. I think we're breaking the firmament. That's what it is.
I shouldn't say, and it would have seemed
So,
so cool, but like I didn't want to interrupt you. I literally didn't want to. You were always in the flow, and I didn't want to like
oh,
just
sorry.
because I felt like I was gonna. It would have changed the trajectory of what we were talking about, but literally, and I don't remember what it was that we were saying that initially sparked it, but about the dissonance, and I was gonna say. It's like when people like NASA will be like, oh, we're trying to break outside of the, we're going like, no, you can't get through there. It's literally like the firmament.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot. The barrier between worlds
Mm-hmm.
is like you can't.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. The only way out of this is energetically.
Right. Well, and I challenge this to some people too, which I think we're starting to be able to show, is that the collective consciousness through even just information and like this stuff, like just people's changing their thought form changes the overall collective resonance,
Yes.
which if we're changing that, it actually changes the heartbeat of Gaia.
Hmm.
And so you hear a lot of people saying solar flash and solar this, but really what it is more people are doing the internal work, and then they're collectively doing it. The
Yeah.
consciousness is resonating higher collectively.
Yes.
That's ascension,
Yes.
and gosh dang, I just lost my train of thought. But these, I mean, they're there at this higher octave to help us, but we're bridging that again. We're bridging that connection, and
Yes.
really, we're just relearning these things.
Yes.
We literally severed the connection to spirit, to that ability of ourselves, and that ascension Yeshua archetype showed us that people in this ascension process are going to actually be embodying this at its fullest, and they're going to be a light or beacon for certain individuals. And when people
Exactly.
start embodying those practices and they see it, it's not a following, like it's not a representation of like people would be like hanging on Jesus' robe to be like him. It's that
Right.
his work brought the best value of themselves out, that their own work and purpose, that what they were doing was purposeful too. And they did it with others, and to commune with saints. That's the representation of it. You commune with saints. So
Exactly.
you balance the structure inside yourself. You raise this resonance, the solar flash. So people say the solar flash and that the sun is changing us. I don't know. I'm not necessarily here to debate that, but I would know this. There is a electric component of plasma, and there is a magnetic component of the moon. There is a magnetic component of Gaia in a trinity fashion,
Yes.
which I know takes place and creates a resonance of physical structure. I'm pretty sure that we can, like you're saying, that barrier.
Yes.
But when we're raising this collective, like you're literally pulling that structure into a different one collectively. Like you're
Yeah.
you're
Yes.
shifting to
You're
a higher
shifting.
higher timeline, like
Correct.
incrementally.
Correct.
And that's literally what we're
Yes.
doing at a cosmological ascension process. So
Yes.
there may be some people around you sometimes that are really disordered or chaotic because that resonance and the trains are shifting so far. So
Yeah.
just decide what train you want to be on. That's really all it is. And if people embody like a lot of this Christos and, like you said, fixing and clearing your chakras,
Yeah.
that's the traumas we pick up as children. And no matter how great your parents are, your childhood before you're 7, everybody picks up trauma.
Everybody.
Everybody.
Literally everybody. Like genetically also, it's like it's
Thank you. Yeah.
yeah.
Yes. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Epigenetics show. Yeah. Over time, we're already robbed of what our genetic expression could be, like
Could
to
be.
a
Correct.
high capacity. And
Right.
and again, the Christos shows us that you can get there. And when you do like embody that, like for people like yourself and myself who are more of these grid workers in our capacity, I know for myself is this plasma, and like
Okay.
there's a connection, and that's the representation of the Garden of Eden. People
Right.
can take that for what they want, but like that's kind of what the story is supposed to embody, is that
Yeah.
ascension process. Jesus and what happens to people in this octave is things that people they can't deny. They can't look away from, right? Because
Exactly.
we're
Yes.
so visual. They're going to be shown these Yeshua archetypes, and they won't be able to look away. So truly, that's why it's so sovereign, because the universe is giving us such a visual representation of like, holy shit, like, yeah, there's something I got
There's
to
something. Yeah.
tap into here
Yes.
or else kind of thing, right?
Right.
And not everybody is going to go with us, but
No. Yeah.
that's
No.
the polarity. Like
And
there has,
there's this theory, sorry, but before I forget this again, there's this theory that I say frequently. And I don't know if you've ever heard of it or not, but it's the Flintstones and the Jetsons.
mm-mm.
Have you ever heard of like the Flintstones and the Jetsons apparently like coexisting at the same time?
No,
Like
but I understand it. Yeah.
they
Okay.
coexisted at the same time, but the Flintstones were the ones that chose to essentially not ascend, and the Jetsons were the ones who did the work
Ah,
to get prepared and did ascend, and they lived above them. Like
right.
it wasn't that they were in different worlds or different timelines or
Mm-hmm.
different time periods. It's that they healed, they did the work, they ascended, and they were just above.
Mm-hmm. So that's where the term light worker, because like you said, plasma, light being,
Light body.
it's what you embody. And
Exactly.
and physically anymore, like, well, people are visual, so they're gonna see what you embody by what they visualize. That's how
Right.
that's
Their
gonna be
perception.
their perception of telepathy, is you speaking to them is what you embody.
Exactly.
And that it when people are embodying stuff to high capacity, a high resonance, people won't be able to deny it. So if
Right.
they truly make the choice, but that's why it's divine in order, because like you are given a choice.
Exactly. You
Every
have free
soul
will.
at this time is given a choice.
Yes.
And yeah, you're sovereign and you have
Yes.
an ability to tap into something that will make you even more like the Jetsons and more sovereign and
Correct.
omnipresence and ascend, or you're not. And it's a process. And there are some people who are light workers doing it a little bit before, but really it's just like we're just a first wave of that. But there are
Exactly.
other people coming behind that are
Yes.
their purpose is just as important as yours and
Absolutely.
mine right now.
Absolutely. But
So,
what we are laying the brickwork and groundwork for right now will be used for the ones that come after us as like
oh, right,
like the guidebook. Oh, snap! Like we got like the New Earth Bible, of
right.
how this is how you get out of this,
Hmm.
you know.
Soul trap.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
Exactly that.
So, well, man, it has been great. The sun is awesome. So I'm going to go smoke a joint outside. It's been amazing with you. So yeah, I'd like to close out with just, I'm very humbled that to meet people like you, and same thing, like you said, this flow that we got into.
Same.
It's, for people like us moving forward. I don't mean like us, like we're better than people again,
No,
but like
right.
that can resonate and talk this way. Lean into it. I've learned that like lean into it hard, like
Absolutely. Yeah.
at whatever in your discernment and your intuition, lead into that hard too.
Yeah.
Cause it's highly, when you resonate, it's there to serve us. It's
Yeah.
universal divine order for you,
Yeah.
for your highest timeline. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Jonathan, I need you to stay on for like 3 minutes after I hit the stop to make sure that it
Okay.
finishes uploading. So I'm gonna go ahead
Sure.
and hit the stop. But
Hmm.
thank you so much for being here. And okay, I'm gonna hit the stop on the recording, but stay on.
Okay.